All right, good afternoon,
Come on,
everybody.
Jerry.
And first of all, thank you for coming to this dedication. This is for the historical marker of the Runyon family and the Runyon Cemetery, which there's a lot of Runyons across the United States. Well, I wanted to first introduce myself because who am I and how did I end up here? My name is Timothy Runyon. I'm an 11th generation grandson of Vincent and Ann Martha Runyon, and my wife Allison Runyon. We're both from Indiana, actually Brownsburg, Indiana. We're both graduates of Indiana University.
We won't hold that against you.
Yes, exactly. And my wife is a registered nurse, and I was a controller for UPS for over 40 years and finally retired. So I was in the corporate office in Atlanta. So that's a little bit about us. We do have three children, one in Denver, one in Georgia, and one in Tennessee. So they're spreading more and more and more. And then finally retired in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that's where we're from today. So thank you, Mayor, for joining us today. And we'll go ahead and introduce some thank yous to a lot of important people. So, first of all, thanks to Mayor Brian Waller for joining us today in this dedication. I'd also like to thank Dana for coordinating a lot of the things for the mayor's office. I was able to talk to Gene Wilkes at the beginning, who hooked me up with Jerry Gargiolo and Gargiolo.
That's
Yeah, I'm getting it, all right. And then Vincent Gargiolo, and where is Vincent? Oh, right here behind us.
By the end of your speech, you'll be talking like somebody from Jersey.
Yeah, exactly. And Vincent actually did the design of the plaque and the historical marker. So thank you guys very much for everything that you do. And Jonathan Masari, Jonathan was the one that installed and helped coordinate to make the beautiful area. So thank you, Jonathan, for doing that and getting that done. So the question is, why are we here and how did we get here? Well, one of the things that happened is my grandparents, which was Harold Francis Runyon and Helen Runyon, uh, they never talked about the Runyon family. So no one out of 10 children that they had knew anything about the Runyon family. So when I retired, I decided to go do some research. And I got a lot of research online, but also there were some papers that were written from a Robert and Amos Runyon who led us to Piscataway, New Jersey. It's about a 282 page paper. And when we read that, I found out that our lineage is different than theirs. And we had to do research to find out where our lineage went. So what happened is we found out from my grandparents that, we lived in the Midwest, obviously from Indiana. But one of the things that happened during the research is we found out that we were actually from New Jersey. And Vincent and Ann Martha Runyon were my grandparents who started here in the year of 1676 or 77. What's interesting is that Vincent was a Huguenot from France who came in 1665 to Elizabethtown, New Jersey. And then in 1668, he married my grandmother, Ann Martha Runyon. And then they moved to Piscataway in 1676. That's an amazing thing when you know nothing about your family, and there's so many families that, were here just in the 20th century to 19th and 18th century. So when we celebrate the 250 years of America next year, we're going to be celebrating over 350 years, which is pretty awesome. Okay. A little bit about Vincent and Ann Martha. They arrived, like I said, in 1676, and they lived in Piscataway for 36 years when my grandfather died in 1713. He was a farmer and carpenter, and if you look down the road, they owned quite a bit of the land. Yesterday, we went to the John F. Kennedy Library and actually found a plat that showed that we owned, as a Runyon family, 1,955 acres and they actually had the plat and a Bible and some of the other artifacts that the Runyon family. So it was very interesting, and we appreciate your town being hospitable to us to do that. Um, I also want to let you know that my grandfather was the first witness in the first New Jersey trial. And in addition, they had 14 children. My grandfathers that lived here were Vincent, Peter, Joseph, and then Peter, and then finally Grandpa Reuben. The reason why I bring him up is because he was the first one to leave Piscataway and went to Washington, Pennsylvania, where he married my grandmother, and they moved to Sherridsville, Ohio, and they rested, and then they moved towards Indiana and Illinois. So that's how we ended up. But the rest of the Runyons, the other lineages, actually went to West Virginia, Virginia, down to Kentucky, and became coal miners. So I thank my grandparents in the past to get us to Indiana, because I never wanted to be a coal miner.
Yeah.
So, but thank God for the coal miners, right? And so finally, I wanted to give you just a little list of the Runyons. Damon Runyon was a celebrated newspaper reporter from the 1880s to 1946. Marvin Travis Runyon, does anybody remember him? He was the postmaster, the general postmaster for the United States in 1822 to 1996 is when he lived and died. Brenda Vineyard Runyon was the founder of the U.S. Bank, to be managed and directed entirely by women. So she was the founder of that. William Nelson Runyon, if you don't know, he was actually an American politician from New Jersey who was actually serving as acting governor in the state of New Jersey. And then finally, Maria Runyon was a legally blind American track and field athlete in America. So that kind of gives you a few of the Runyon names throughout the history. We had a brigadier general and some other folks as well. But thank you guys, and thank you, Mayor, for doing this. And I will hand it off to the mayor to say a few words.
Well, thank you, Tim. Listen, I just think genealogy in general is a great field, how everybody finds out where they came from. But Tim, I do have to admit that if your family had stuck around instead of going to the coal mines of West Virginia, they could have worked at Chanel right here, or they could have worked in IT or pharma or in AI, or you name it, data centers right here if they stuck around long enough. Yeah. But if you go and look, as Jerry Gargiulo knows, if you look at down in Washington, D.C. in the map room of the National Archives, you'll see, if you look at a map of New Jersey from the 1700s, you'll see that Piscataway was well over 400 square miles at one time, and it encompassed a good chunk of central New Jersey. So it's very interesting. We're able to meet one of the descendants of the original founders of our town of Piscataway, which happens to be the 50th oldest community in the United States and the 5th oldest in the state of New Jersey. So, you know, your family had a lot of part to being involved in it, not just because they have Runyon Avenue named after, but there's also a lot of other families that the Fitz-Randolphs right here, or you see another cemetery, orphan cemetery over there by the high school. We have several orphan cemeteries that were founded by family members of the founding family members, and they're orphan because it's not like a regulated cemetery through the state of New Jersey. So thus their family plots, thus orphan cemeteries. However, we here in municipal government, we have taken the mantle to maintain them out of respect to the founding families, things like that. So I want to thank you for coming all the way from Indiana. Too bad you didn't arrange this during a Rutgers, Indiana football game. So there, you know, you got to come back for a Rutgers, Indiana game. Next thing you play back, and you could honestly tell the Indiana folks, hey, my town, my family was one of the founding families of Piscataway Township. And to boot, every time on ESPN or the Big Ten Network, it always says live from Piscataway, New Jersey. So at least you have it there. So, with that, I want to thank you for coming all the way from Indiana. And I heard that they're bringing the rain with them later today.
Yeah,
so, Jerry, did you want to say a couple quick words? No? Dan, do you want to say a couple quick words? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dan Sermon, resident of Piscataway. My family's been in Piscataway since 1963, unlike the Runyons. I'm president of the Piscataway Historical and Heritage Society, and I truly enjoy that I took this position because I learned a lot about this town that I never knew about. And that's why I encourage people that are listening here out there in TV land to stop by one of our meetings, second Tuesday of each month at the JFK Library. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dan. So maybe what we'll do is come on. We have another descendant of the Runyon family.
Yeah, I'd like to say a word if I might.
Sure, go ahead.
My name is Jan Roan. I live in New Jersey, lived in New Jersey most of my life, except for some time I spent down in Florida. I live down in Brick. And I'm up here today and I just want to say, thank you so much, Tim, for everything you've done to have this beautiful plaque installed here at our family cemetery. And I'd also like to thank the Township of Piscataway for taking such nice care of this family plot. I have to go back quite a few generations before I come across a Runyon name. I didn't know until maybe, 10 years ago that there was anyone named Runyon in my family tree or that there was a cemetery in Piscataway where my family's buried. And I've been to so many other cemeteries throughout the state of New Jersey that are not taken care of in this way. We have a beautiful metal fence, beautiful stone steps. Somebody comes out here and mows periodically. And I just want to, on behalf of myself and our family, thank you so much for your work in taking care of this burial ground. I really appreciate it. It's a little far to come with a lawnmower, and I appreciate the fact that there are people here in Piscataway who can do that. Thank you again.
Now, I also want to thank our local Boy Scout troops over the years have taken an interest in this cemetery. But, a lot of the scouts are getting older, and we decided to step in and do the right thing and take care of it all for once. So.